Welcome to this explainer. We're jumping right into something today that literally impacts almost all of us: the rapid, massive expansion of automated license plate readers across the country. And, the really deep, complex legal questions they're bringing up right now. We are looking at a system that has fundamentally changed how local towns handle everything from traffic enforcement to criminal investigations. But it's also sparked a fierce debate about what privacy even means in the modern age. Let's get right into it. So think about this for a second. Is your car being tracked right now? It's a serious question. The stakes of this surveillance network are incredibly personal. We aren't just talking about a couple of cameras in massive cities anymore. According to the data, companies like Flock Safety are now partnered with over 5,000 communities nationwide. 5,000. So practically speaking, every time you drive to the grocery store, drop your kids off at school, or just commute to work, there is a really high probability that an automated lens is capturing your vehicle, recording your plate, and logging your exact location into a centralized database. But before we dig into the privacy concerns, we've got to look at the results. And the results are undeniable. These real-world stories show exactly why law enforcement agencies argue these cameras are absolutely vital for public safety and emergency response. Take a look at some of these recent cases. In Wells County, Indiana, police actually used the network to locate a missing 11-year-old child and catch 3 suspects. In El Cajon, California, they tracked down a shooting suspect in under 6 hours. Down in Volusia County, Florida, they even used integrated audio detection to find a victim who was trapped in the trunk of a car. And on a more day-to-day level, places like Atherton, California, have reported up to a 90% reduction in package and mail theft. So you can clearly see why, from a law enforcement perspective, this technology is a massive, game-changing tool. But how are they paying for all of this? Well, check out this number: over $1.6 million. That's just one grant given to the Bibb County Sheriff's Office in Georgia to fund these watchful eyes. And honestly, the actual source of those funds might surprise you. Take a look at this official grant document for what they're calling Operation TAP, which stands for Technology and Partnerships for Proactive Public Safety. This is actually federal stimulus money originally intended for pandemic recovery under the American Rescue Plan Act, being aggressively utilized by local governments to permanently upgrade their surveillance infrastructure. It really highlights that this expansion isn't just some grassroots local police initiative. It's being heavily subsidized by federal dollars, making it practically a no-brainer for cities to just opt right in. The antithesis: privacy and the Fourth Amendment. And this brings us right into the massive constitutional pushback against what critics are calling mass suspicionless surveillance. Just look at this quote from the Institute for Justice. Police shouldn't be able to track everyone's movements without a warrant. Privacy advocates are raising some huge red flags here. The whole argument centers on the Fourth Amendment, which protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures. Critics argue that automatically collecting and storing the plate data of every single passing car, even if you've done literally nothing wrong, is basically the equivalent of having a police officer follow you around all day, every day for months. They point to the legal precedent from Carpenter v. United States, arguing that compiling this continuous location data effectively creates a search. And, legally, a search should require a warrant based on probable cause. Now, beyond the high-level constitutional debates, lawyers on the ground are pointing out some very real, practical issues. Down in Macon, Georgia, legal professionals note that automated traffic enforcement is causing a whole host of unintended consequences. For example, ironically, putting up these cameras often leads to a spike in rear-end collisions. Why? Because drivers panic and slam on their brakes to avoid a robotic ticket. We're also seeing traffic diverted onto quiet residential side streets that just aren't built for that kind of heavy volume, all because drivers are trying to dodge the camera intersections entirely. Plus, these systems just mechanically spit out flat $70 tickets with zero human discretion. It doesn't matter if there was an emergency context. And that leads a lot of critics to argue these systems are way less about actual safety and a lot more about generating revenue for the city. To put this legal patchwork into perspective, let's compare 2 places: Norfolk, Virginia, and Bibb County, Georgia. Both jurisdictions are deploying hundreds of Flock cameras. Both have zero built-in judicial oversight for queries, and both operate on a standard 30-day data retention policy. Yet, Norfolk is currently facing a massive federal lawsuit led by the Institute for Justice over unconstitutional mass surveillance. Meanwhile, Bibb County, which actually funded its expansion through an $8 million traffic enforcement surplus, is operating without any pending litigation right now. It really shows how incredibly fragmented privacy law is in the U.S. today. Depending on which city you happen to drive through, the exact same surveillance setup is either operating without a hitch or being actively fought in federal court. The synthesis, safeguards, and accountability. So to balance out these really intense privacy fears with the clear public safety benefits, law enforcement and tech companies are leaning heavily on strict technical safeguards. And the biggest one is the data retention limit. Law enforcement agencies assure citizens that all data is scheduled to be deleted after 30 days. They argue this strict deletion window completely prevents the permanent tracking of innocent individuals. The idea is if the data is purged every single month, the system just can't be used to build a long-term, multi-year behavioral profile of an ordinary citizen. It's essentially a built-in expiration date, designed specifically to tackle that Carpenter v. United States concern about long-term location tracking. But what about internal misuse? Well, to deter that, the system relies on an immutable, automatic accountability trail. You literally cannot search a license plate without leaving a permanent digital fingerprint. Here's how it works. If an authorized user runs a plate, it ties directly into state and federal criminal justice databases. Instantly, an access log is generated showing the user's ID, exactly what they searched, and the exact timestamp. At the exact same time, a transaction log is recorded at the federal level, documenting the operator and the specific case number that justifies that search. And because of that detailed digital trail, if someone suspects their information was accessed improperly, there are multiple overlapping layers of oversight ready to step in. At the local and state level, you have internal affairs and state crime information centers running periodic compliance audits. Then, on the federal and corporate side, you have logs held by Flock Safety itself, and ultimately the FBI's Criminal Justice Information Services Division. And the FBI does not mess around. They mandate severe sanctions for any unauthorized surveillance or misuse of these databases. So it's a really robust technical system designed to make sure the humans operating the cameras are being watched just as closely as the citizens driving past them. As these automated networks keep expanding across our cities, fueled by millions in grants and traffic surpluses, it really leaves us pondering exactly where the line between security and constitutional freedom should be drawn. We've seen how incredible they are at solving kidnappings and violent crimes, but we've also seen the very valid fears of warrantless mass tracking, plus the unintended consequences of automated enforcement. So, what do you think? As this technology continues to outpace our current legal frameworks, can true public safety seamlessly coexist with total privacy, or is one always going to compromise the other? It's a huge question that every community is going to have to answer in the years to come. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you in the next one.